Hey guys, this is episode 2 of BP's Crow's Nest. Um, Tonight I'm joined by Berean, Heart Gaming, and I'm also have No Lube here with us. This will be No Lube's first night on. You want to tell people a little bit about you, No Lube?
Sure, sure. Obviously, for you folks that don't know me in the game, been playing the game for about 4.5 years now. Got a pretty high ID, so I was one of those idiots that coined a whole bunch in the first. But definitely enjoy the game. I have a pretty big group, R1, and a couple other groups that we have over there, and we have a good time. But excited to be here and excited to talk about this new stuff that's out today.
Cool, cool. Well, we got quite a bit to cover tonight, so I guess we'll kind of get right into it. First of all, I was actually messaged by GD Aerospecs before the game, or before the show tonight, and he wanted me to definitely mention the fact that they do plan on making things a little bit simpler going ahead. It says, as you can see by the slide, starting with the next PvP hull release after the Rage, they're going to begin significantly reducing the number of new mechanics and combination of mechanics that exist in a single item. They're aiming to go back to the basics, the bread and butter that don't exceed a single scroll bar in the stat block, which at least if nothing else will make it convenient for looking at your hull at a quick glance and knowing what it does. It's like they'll be doing their best to try to avoid having special abilities, and this will apply for hulls, weapons, specials, and turrets, etc. With that being said, the 7 Deadly Sin hulls, they're going to continue to push them out the way they were currently designed because they really feel that they did a good job with those. So, but I mean, it's kind of nice to see them going back to basics. What do you guys think?
I definitely think that is, and I think that's a part of the game to where when they kind of went through their transition about a year and a half ago, they kind of got away from that, and I kind of like to see them kind of picking some of that back up. Plus the simplicity of some of this. I know some people feel like they have to be a rocket science to put a fleet together.
Well,
Yeah,
I definitely, I definitely agree with that whole idea. Most of us have been around for a while. I mean, we got an average of a good experience among the three of us, but what about that new person coming in and they pop open a blueprint and it's like 6 pages long? That would be a deterrent for me. I always love to give kudos where kudos are due, and GDA, hey, this is a kudo. Great idea, trying to simplify these blueprints down. I know there's going to be exceptions to it. There has to be exceptions for certain hulls, but making it generally so much easier, good work, man. Keep that kind of stuff up. That's going to help keep people around.
Well, and I think that the base, especially anybody that has been playing this game for a while, that gives us some encouragement. Goes, okay, yes, you're listening to us as long-term players.
yeah, I mean, less is more, as the old saying goes.
Absolutely.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. As far as bug fixes and tuning, they fixed an issue where the drone mega module would accumulate repair time from losing drones in combat. I'll be honest, I personally didn't see it, but I'll also be honest, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to my Hyperion.
Well, I guess you would need drones on your Hyperion to be able to see that. So
Well,
I have not made it that far.
I was going to say I have drones on it. I just I don't pay any attention to it whatsoever. I update it when campaigns come around, and I can keep it dead to protect all my resources. Other than that, it's just like paperweight. They also fixed an issue where players would get an SOS from moving hulls in and out of the defense fleet slot. I heard a ton of people talking about this one, so having that fixed is definitely a good thing.
I've noticed that the SOSs, I mean, as far as me goes, they have gone down quite a bit over the recent time for me. I think I remember one that frustrated me. You'd go into your storage, or no, it was walls. You were doing upgrading walls, and if you tried to do more than one at a time, you'd get that SOS. So I think they've done a good job with kind of clearing that up, really.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'm in the same boat. I've not seen too many SOSs lately. I happened to get one by accident, the wrong browser. When I went to the right browser, it SOS'd me. But in general, I've not been seeing SOS SOSs lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long, long time since I saw my last SOS. So, yeah, I'm definitely happy. Then we got into the update. Part of this week's update is they're running a discount on bulk 3-rank purchasing VXP during the event. So keep your eyes out for the following discounts. Phoenixes will be 40% off. Skyfires will be 40% off. Gutsville Phoenix will be 45% off. The Gutsville Skyfire will be 45% off. And the Apollos will be 45% off.
So to clarify this, just basically when you're in your dock and you want to coin the rank for say, that's where this discount's going to be?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, for anybody who ever does coin rank, I myself personally don't. But for anybody who does, you know, and you're going into this raid with, like, say, you know, one of your Phoenixes or one of your Skyfires is a little bit off in the rank from the others, and you don't want the nightmare that can turn into a drive-in, you can, you know, for about close to half of the price, coin a little bit of rank. So, you know, if you're a rank coiner, then this is probably a good thing for you. If you weren't a rank coiner in the first place, you probably don't care.
I used to coin those ranks pretty much as soon as I caught the hole, and then figured out that was silly, so I quit doing it. And of course, you know, the game's thrown us the VXP weekend, and this new thing with these tokens, that's been awesome too.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the new things with the tokens, that's for sure.
Yeah, with something that it'll come up in our later slides as we talk about the raid and the raid prizes. Hey, I'm stocking up on Conqueror VXP tokens, big time.
Yep.
Okay, then we're gonna go start talking about the raid, I guess, since that's the big topic for today and the rest of the week.
You mean there's a raid this week?
Yes, apparently there is.
Dadgum, I better get ready.
Apparently, from what I heard, maybe on the forums, that the prize list might have been a little bit late coming out. I'm not sure. There might have been a wee tiny little bit of grumbling about that on the forums.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. I think I've seen it in comms too.
You know, I think one guy might have said, "I am sort of unhappy." But anyway, I digress.
I personally didn't notice much difference in the complaining, so you know it.
It's like always, we have a meeting with our groups. In fact, we had it Monday, and it talks about the raid and all those types of things. And we always, every month, we say, okay, we know the raid's going to suck. We know it's going to be hard. We know kick size this and that and everything else. Well, we already know that, so there's no reason. And it never fails. First 10 minutes, this sucks. This awful. Every raid. I just ignore it.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do. All right, we got all our same targets basically that we had last time, except for this time in the tier 7 or the S set, or whatever they want to call it at this time of year. You have a second 103 target. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit nervous about it. We haven't seen it in any testing yet or anything, so I'm like, I wonder what they put in here. But at the same point in time, I have a little bit of confidence, at least, that over the past couple months they've learned some stuff and they haven't gone too crazy with it. To where we need like R20 retrofits and everything at full legendary and impossible to get crews and 18 coin repair saying, yeah, that's good, Martha. That's a good deal right there. Yeah. So apparently we've avoided all that with this 103. Of course, we got our blitz targets, the 69 and the 89. Tier 4 with a tier bonus of 60K. Tier 5 with a tier bonus of 500K. Tier 6 with a tier bonus of 1,850,000. And the tier 7 tier bonus of 2,750,000. So I know I myself will be focusing mainly on the tier 7 sets. I'm assuming that's probably the same with you guys as well.
Last trade I did the tier 6, the 80s. And to me, I found that personally then, of course, my Phoenixes weren't exactly ready, so I couldn't really do the 100s or the tier 7. But, I was doing the math, and the time frame that it takes to do all that, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, probably so. Probably.
I mean, you obviously got one extra target to deal with on your tier 6, and obviously it takes a little bit more time. But at last raid, I was finding some people were having to hit that. Was it the 100 or the 103 that was the standalone last time?
It was the 100 that was standalone.
100. I was finding some people were able to get through tier 6 with one pass, one repair, but yet they were having to do 2 on the 100. So, once again, I started doing the math and going, well, it doesn't make, for me personally, it doesn't make any sense. Now, I know there were some folks out there that was doing the 100s for next to nothing, but obviously you needed that right build.
Right. Yeah, I'll be honest. Last raid, I did nothing but 100s, and I was getting them all. I think I was coming in about 24 minutes repair on each one.
Oh, wow.
And that was with no flag and one less Phoenix than what I have now. So
right. So you ought to be able to, and that's probably why they added the second target. Gotta beef it up a little bit.
Right.
Well, I mean, they observing even some of the interviews, like with GDR spec, he commented that the difficulty does slightly increase at each step during the raid cycle. So we honestly weren't for sure if they were going to just add a little bit to the damage that was going to be dealt. But obviously, by adding the second the second tier 7 target, that definitely qualifies as adding into the difficulty factor here on the second month of this cycle.
Very true.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm nervous yet anxious both to see what that second target is going to look like.
I think I have to feel the same way, because I was going through this last month, getting my Phoenixes ready, got the lead ship all done and ready, got them pretty much fitted out. So I was like kind of excited. And me, I kind of pick my poison each cycle. Do I want to focus on the raid fleet, get ready for it, or am I wanting to fix up my baser or base? And the last cycle, I chose base and baser, and I got behind. I didn't have no icebreakers. I struggled that whole cycle. Well, this one I went, okay, I'm not struggling. I'm going to get ready. So I started building those Phoenixes as soon as I redeemed them that go. And I'm excited because I've been ready. And then I seen that today, and they added the second target. I went, son of a gun.
Right.
I feel like I'm getting there, and I'm right there. Then boom, no, you're not there.
So everybody just hold your breath and cross your fingers, basically.
Right.
All right, Bree, you want to talk about the prizes some a little bit?
Hey, I'd be more than happy to. Obviously we can't have a raid without prizes, and even with a minor little hiccup in getting the prize list out, hey, we've got it now. And as you look here, what we have is everything that's going to be on the left side. We've grown, we've figured it out. The left side is some of the older tech that you can pick up on. I'd recommend to any and everybody, if you've not picked up a Phoenix, if you don't have the Skyfires, if somebody can help you to get that Phoenix, it's going to make a world of difference. Remember, these targets are going to turn into our new titanium targets. Like we were talking earlier, it's not just for mega ships anymore. Hey, those tokens that we can invest the time and research into to manufacture are going to come in really, really handy. So the Phoenix for the left side is a pretty good buy. And obviously the Talon and that carbon fiber casing, you got to get something from every tier to be able to get to the unlock store. And those, if you do not have the Skyfire especially, your tail to at least get the Phoenix, and if you can get the Talon and the carbon with it, it makes a world of difference. Switchblade anti-missile, also another fine target. Pricing is pretty reasonable. It's what you would expect on them. Of course, you can't have the left side without having the right side. That's going to have all of our new stuff to it.
I want to interject one thing. I personally am a big fan of the counter missile extender, and especially for only 400,000 points. Oh my gosh, that thing is awesome.
I was thinking the same thing, and that's really cheap. I mean, a lot of folks can get that. They don't even have help. I mean, they ought to be able to get 400,000. So
yeah.
And that's one that I've used a lot.
If you've got rhinos with a reasonable tank, you can do those tier 4 targets with that rhino and get you that countermeasure extender.
So would an Apollo or like a Zo's Apollo work as that tank? Or would you want something even tankier?
I personally don't even have Apollos or the Zoe Apollo, and so I cannot give an intelligent response to that.
I was sitting there thinking when you said that, and I had not thought about using rhinos, but I thought, well, hey, if you did have a good tank, you know, and a lot of people have rhinos because they, you know, obviously they've been out for a while, and then I know some of those people that have logged on after so much time, they were given away there for a while too. So, you know, a lot of people may have that hole out there and then just kind of have it in storage, not even thinking about even using it for something like this.
That remote range makes a world of difference with a good tank leading it. As long as you got something good for a tank, you'll eat up those tier 4 targets. That'll get you that countermeasure extender easily.
Or even one more thought before we switch off this. What if a person was able to get one Phoenix put together and they do have some rhinos? I mean, what do you think about the Phoenix being a tank? I mean, yeah, the Phoenix.
The Phoenix would make a great tank because the Phoenix is designed with the corrosive defense. Yeah. It's designed with the penetrative defense. You wouldn't even have to super build it up like you need for the high
and it should be a pretty cheap repair too. I mean, if you're really just focusing on the one ship, it's taking all the damage. It dies. Exactly. You got to go out and repair. You only repair one ship. And, you know, most of this new stuff is a lot cheaper to repair than that older stuff. I know back when I was repairing rhinos, they weren't exactly that cheap.
Oh, they're still not that cheap. Trust me. But that remote target with that tank, wow. I mean, you know, that is still something that we can take advantage of and get that countermeasure extender.
Absolutely.
You know, very easy to get.
All right, on the right-hand side of the prize list, that's where we're going to see a lot of new stuff.
Now this is definitely overall, the first 3 levels on it, that's old stuff. The old Spite, the Scoria missile, you know, still a pretty decent potent missile that Scoria missile is. And the advanced guidance system, if I remember right, that's the special for the Conqueror onlys, if I'm remembering.
I think that's a general one. I think you can use that on anything.
I honestly can't remember for sure, so my computer's acting up, or I'd pull up my game and check it right quick.
I was trying to do the same things. I went over there and it says my hands are off the wheel, so I'm loading it up right now. I got a pretty fast connection. I'll just take a look. But I think that advanced guidance system is the one with the green target, and then it's a pretty old special, if I'm remembering right.
Another one that you're thinking of, and I don't think that that's the one that the one you're thinking of, I don't believe is the advanced guidance. I believe that's the one that looks like it has the 3 red missiles that was limited to the Conquerors. Real handy on like the Spite.
Advanced guidance system is the one that is Conqueror only. That is the Reaver tech.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, I was thinking of guided missile system is what I was thinking of.
Which is a great one to put on your Phoenixes and stuff like that. But as we move up the line, we see 3 brand new things that we have not seen before. We've got the Rage for 20 million, the Radon Slinger for 12 million, and the Radon Breeder for 8 million. This is the new, you know, when you look at the name Rage, it's another name for Wrath. We won't go into why they didn't go with Wrath, but from everything that I know, this is our next deadly sin, and the weapon special that are supposed to be designed to go with it. We're going to go into more details on that later. So if you already have your Phoenix and all of that stuff, talk more about the Rage, you're probably going to go, where's my 20 million? Give me my 20 million now.
The top 3 package here is basically what you want for the new click the back of the base and go get a cup of coffee baser.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, we'll go into a little bit more details on the specifics of the blueprints later on.
It's looking pretty for sure.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you know, we've got our unlock store. That's going to have, you know, once you get something from all 6 levels, we know how the procedure works. But just in case somebody new is listening, you know, as long as you claim 1 prize or already own 1 prize from those first 6 levels, And by the way, I'm one who doesn't. I have to get something on that level 3. I don't know if I want to get the Zoe Apollo or the Spite yet, but I have to unlock the store. Once you get in there, you've got your ship build tokens. Pretty close to what they've been running. Of course, they've got the zealous.com/prime again. I've not heard a whole lot going on with the generalist holes for this particular raid cycle. I think their little generalist dampener did the trick to push us away. If you got your Apollo, your Rhino build tokens, all of your important build tokens. You've got the interception system, anti-missile proliferation. These are some really good specials, pretty reasonably priced, that will help out with any of your assault fleets. Keep that interception system in mind as we go a little bit further into this. That particular special is going to come back up in conversation. You'll also notice they've got the UAV overdrive battery and the power cell. These are helpful if you did not get the big special and have the Skyfires. Those are really good priced, and those are going to help on your Skyfire carriers. Hey, speaking of the Skyfire carrier, there's the Gutspill and the Gutspill Phoenix right there next in line. It's 10 million less than what it was last month, and from what I'm hearing, those flags make a world of difference.
I know it does with the Phoenix fleet.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, I love my Phoenix flag to death.
Me too. I mean, I just had 3 regular Phoenixes for the raid last month, and I was like, dang, and then I got that the lead, the gut spill, and I mean, just went out and just hit something and was like, oh wow, that makes it's everything. it makes it a much better fleet all the way around.
One thing I do find, I don't know if you find the same thing, but in these targets, I do a lot of driving away with my Phoenixes. You get in close and tight it. And I noticed the one thing with the stun effect is like, okay, yes, it will stun, but by the time I get turned around and start coming back and reach back to where the thing is stunned at, the stun wears off.
Well, you know what I did? I added a guidance, or I can't think of what it is now. The one that gives you anti-stun. I went totally blank.
Oh, the agility
system. Agility system 4. I put one on each, and it don't even stun me. I don't even get the stun. I guess it has enough anti that it completely counters it.
Yeah, no. What I'm talking about is when your gut spill, when its ability will go off, that it shoots a stun missile.
Oh, gotcha.
Something, and you stun something else, but by the time you get turned around and get back to it, the stun is kind of worn off.
Right, gotcha.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there, I suppose.
If you look over a couple more items, well, 3 more. They've got the icebreaker build tokens. We've kind of seen the icebreakers kind of hanging around for some of our TLCs. But I'll tell you what, that monolith large VXP token, yeah, it's 4 million. That's a pretty good chunk. If you do not have your monos ranked up, you can give them a shot on the VXP weekend. But I'm telling you, your monos are just top notch for your weekly Forsaken mission chores. And nothing helps a ship more than putting a little bit of rank on them.
I guess I should build some of those.
Yeah, I've got my 3rd one built.
I have none. But I am still doing the weekly with a Icebreaker, a Punisher, a Harlock Citadel, and 2 regular Citadels. I'm so far behind on. That's what because I didn't skip the raid, but I didn't build the icebreakers. I just didn't get ready, so I have fallen behind. And like you said earlier, get the Phoenix because it's going to be new titanium. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And I think that's what a lot of people miss the boat on. And I did it. I did it with that icebreaker and or the monoliths or anything else. I concentrated on something else. I fell behind, and now I need to go back and build monoliths. And everybody that has them is like, oh, I love these things. So I can't even do those blitz targets. It's not that I blitz very often, but those 103 blitz targets, I can't. Citadels aren't very fast. So.
Well, I know I plan on getting all the Zelos one-day build tokens I can out of this raid because I'm going to go with just the two Zelos ballistic fleets that does the 113 for pretty much damage free. Because I'm tired of screwing around with icebreakers. I'm tired of screwing around with monoliths. And I'm just like, nope, I'm going to build a 2-boat fleet and have at it.
Oh, the Zelos is a beast. I mean, when they came out with the Zelos, it just, wow. I mean, as far as just in a general, it was a game changer, and it is a monster. It is a beast. I agree completely. A zealous tank is just, man. We already got it in the FM, but for your upper level targets, you start trying to hit the 113. Even if you're running citadels on the 113, that zealous tank makes all the difference in the world. I agree. We can jump for it big time.
Right.
Oh, man.
We could probably go on and on about the stuff in the Unlocked store, but we're about the halfway mark now, so we should probably get moving on to something.
Sorry, my fault. I get to rambling on too much. At least all my guys in the group say so.
Yeah, it's on all of us. We all do sometimes.
Well, next up, of course, we've got our Locked Limited store. Old classics in there, still at the same old price. The Hellfire, Ghostcrawler, Man of War, Proto Nemesis. Yeah, dear God, they've been in there for how long, and they're still that same old price. The charged armors. I can't brag on the charged armors enough. If you can afford to be getting them, they do make that much of a difference on your fleets. They truly do.
Absolutely. And no repair.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, didn't the cost on them come down a little bit more even than it was last raid?
I believe last raid that these were at this same price. I haven't pulled up my old spreadsheet from that one.
I thought they were 12 and 8.
I thought they were 12 and 8 on the tech raid to get the advance on it. But they could have.
I was thinking the corrosive one was 9 million last raid, but I could be wrong.
I'm kind of thinking that same thing, that it was like 9.5 mil. So it may have come down just a little.
Okay, Chad is saying they were 10 and 8 last time. So yeah, that sounds about right, because they have seemed to decrease them a little each raid as we go forward.
Well, when they popped them up to 12 million for the early access for the corrosives, they started off at 10 million when they released the C1M and the C1X originally. So they have dropped down a little bit, and like I said, it is well worth it if you can get them. Well worth it.
Yeah, the only thing I would like to see the number that you can redeem a little bit higher. I know last raid they bumped it from 5 to 7 halfway through, so maybe they'll do something like that again this raid. That would be extremely nice.
Oh, I definitely hope so. Definitely hope so. Of course, the next two items are a couple of names that y'all haven't seen except on your splash screen whenever you logged into the game. We've got the new Reyna's Rage. Hey, that's the flagship for that Rage we were just talking about for 20 million. Wow, we're going to cover some stats on that here in just a little bit. We've got the Cadus shards. This is the new super hull, capital ship, however you want to word it. You're only going to be able to get about halfway there, and it's going to be expensive to get there. Looking almost 190 million just to get half of the shards required to build it. But it definitely looks like an interesting haul.
Definitely has some facts. I'm kind of interested about the drone thing and exactly what they're going to do, because to me, and reading the stats, as we were talking before the show started, it seems to be really all about those drones.
I would definitely agree just from what I'm seeing on paper. I can't wait until the time when we can actually see it in operation,
right.
See it in real world application.
Well, very similar when the Hellstar came out and we knew it was going to have drones. We weren't exactly sure what those drones were going to do. And I was actually one of the fortunate, lucky ones that won the Hellstar that first drop. And back then when I coined all the time, I coined it immediately and was just like, wow, and I actually went out hitting bases. But the one thing I do not like about the Hellstar is the same thing I'm not going to like about this Cadus. 400% repair modifier.
We won't even go into that at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll get it that. We get down to the actual
right.
So.
Now, of course, we do have a couple of items that are time limited as well. No Lube was just talking about the agility system a little bit before. If you can get the points to get that agility system for, it definitely makes a difference. You can pick up 5 of them. That would equip one entire fleet. Of course, you've also got the Zenthonite D5ST. That is your anti-stun armor. Be able to pick up 10 of those, but like it's showing, if you don't get them before Saturday morning, you're not going to get them this raid.
I really wish they wouldn't base prices on components around the current meta of the game. Because like Agility System 4, for example, has been like 1 million to 1.5 million for God knows how long. And now suddenly, because it's important in this particular part of the game, it suddenly has like quadrupled in price.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And I have the same frustration there. It's like they watch that and, that's really, it's useful technology, but it's essentially old technology and they're charging them through the nose for it, really.
Yeah. Pricing around the meta is not a good concept for any game, in my personal opinion.
Right.
I know when I owned my game store and I watched, several gaming companies that would try to price around the meta, it would always come back and bite them in the ass. Because people would be like, oh, well, I either won't participate or I will find a different way to do it that doesn't involve that thing.
Well, and
they do it. Gamers are stubborn out of principle that way.
way.
They know when you're trying to manipulate the game on them and manipulate the cost and the currency and everything. They know when that's going on.
Yeah, all you gotta do is read comms.
Yeah.
Or the forums.
Or the forums. Yeah, or the forums.
So my advice just on that stuff is pick a price and stick with it. Don't keep moving it up and down.
I can definitely see that. Definitely see that. Oops, I was on the wrong window. Hey, speaking of the prizes, No Lube. Man,
Rage.
I can hear about this rage.
As we were talking before then, what this rage and the Reyna's rage reminds me of is the Grimmsround Berserker and the Berserker combo when it came out. They got the overload mechanism. Obviously, it's significantly higher. It triggers at every 30,000 armor points. I think the Berserker did it 15 before, or it was 18 or 15. And then you could retro it and get it to 12, I think, right? Was the old Grimmsround Berserker. I think once you retroed it, it got it down to every 1,200 armor points. But obviously, today's fleets have over 100,000 armor points versus the 10, 20, and 30,000 that we had back then. So I think it's pretty comparable to the same. But the regular Rage has a ballistic deflection of 12,000, pretty good. Concussive deflection of 15,000 or 1,500, which is really the only thing concussive you deal with is the maximum turrets, which hardly anybody has, and of course subs. Corrosive deflection of plus 4,000. I think that's pretty good because I think a lot of people have corrosive in their bases right now. And it's really geared for radioactive. Obviously, this ship I think is kind of like the old Hellhound, which was the beginning of the thrower ships. This is a thrower-based ship, but I also think you could look at putting a launcher on this too. I mean, you could probably look at it both ways. But it does give you a thrower range of +5. And a question I had, and maybe you guys can collaborate with me on this, you've got the special that gives you a plus on the thrower range. Does that go +5 plus that special?
Yes, they do.
Okay. I would assume they would stack.
That's what I figured.
Just like on the Retribution.
Right. It does give you a thrower range of +5, like I said, and then plus the bonus special that we got last time. You can get that. I mean, I would assume you could get that thrower range way out there. Radioactive reload, which is both throwers and launchers. A lot of people don't understand that throwers are a radioactive weapon and all the radioactive bonuses go the same. So you got radioactive reload of +50, radioactive damage of +50. So once again, a person, I was kind of, when I first read the stats on this, I went prep fleet, put the launcher that does mostly ship damage and very little building damage. get in there. You're going to have that, damage, extra damage. I just think with a fleet of these things, you could run in there and take out a Justice or first couple ships or something in there, like a lot of people were doing with Retributions. Only this is a significantly tougher hull than the Retribution. So that was kind of my instinct. But its base defenses are plus 20,000 on penetrative deflection. Explosive deflection 10,000, missed ballistic at 4,000, corrosive at 15,000. So really the only thing in my book that I'm seeing that this thing's going to be weak to is launchers. So I think that's, of course we say that, it's like I'm looking at the stats on the Inquisitor and it has a lot of penetrative defense, but it seems the Hyena missiles murder it. So I think it comes down to one of those things. We got to get this thing, we got to build it, get out there and play with it and really see what's going on there. But the overload.
And the defenses were following that pattern that we've always followed too, that whatever kind of damage the hull puts out, that's what it's weak to.
Right, absolutely. And definitely. One thing that I did notice on this, obviously for the Hyena aspect, is that when it is in its overload, which is a 20-second overload, you get plus 60,000 penetrated deflection, another 50% bonus on radioactive damage, and another 25% bonus on radioactive reload, and 100% bonus on turn speed, which is not a big deal. But that 60,000 penetrated deflection in that Berserk mode is going to be, that's going to get by the Hyenas. And that's what I was thinking. Prep fleet, put the launchers on it, run up in there, get the Berserk, boom. You're going to have a protection against these Hyenas, which seems to be a lot of the bases I've been hitting lately have been Hyenas. But definitely an interesting hull. I want to move over to the Reyna's Rage. It's definitely the flagship for this set of ships. And once again, I know we were talking before the show, this is the first time in a long time that Kixeye has given us both the flagship and the regular ship at one time in the same raid or the same deal. Usually it's been get the ship and then the campaign gives you the this or that or whatnot. But this Reyna's Rage is got pretty much all the same attributes as the regular Rage. It does give you a kind of a bonus to the friendly ships, another 12,000 ballistic deflection, 1,500 corrosive, 44,000 corrosive deflection, and a plus 15% radioactive damage. So really, if I'm doing the math right, you get the regular radioactive damage bonus, you get the overload damage bonus, then you get the stackable damage bonus. If I'm doing all that math right, it looks like you get a lot of stacks on that radioactive damage.
You definitely can very quickly. Even before the overload, when you start putting in the stacks, that's going to add up very, very quickly.
Yes, and another thing that this possible new fleet is reminding me of, I know I talked about it too, a lot of my basers for a while now have been these big mixed bag fleets. I think this has kind of been geared to be one fleet and all the same, and try to stack all that together and not really do the mixed bag that a lot of people have been doing. I'm sure myself and others will do the mixed bag stuff, but this really seems to be the first one in a while. I mean, maybe the Liberators were one that was really a good fleet as far as having 5 of them together. And I think this is going to be very similar, but with a lot better attributes versus, say, the Liberator was, and all that kind of stuff. Another thing that I'm noticing on here is this thing, in its overload effect, it has this thing that gives off 50,000 damage, 75 splash, 75 range, and another plus radioactive damage of plus 75, and another plus on the reload of plus 150. I mean, these numbers are almost mind-boggling at how much stack this is going to give you on this radioactive damage output.
Well, and we haven't even talked about the fact that on the overload that happens at 100,000, you get the shroud effect.
Exactly.
To where you're untargetable. Now, granted, things around you that deal splash damage, you'll still take splash, and projectiles that were in the air coming at you when you were targeted before the shroud came in will still hit you. But just that ability to be untargetable while that shroud is going on, and that seems to last for 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
I mean, being untargetable for 15 seconds and running around wreaking havoc is a pretty big thing in this game.
The one thing I do see, which I guess you could compile the old bulkhead armor on here, is you're only going to get one of those because it has 187,500 armor points as a base, and it only does it every 100. So bulk armor gives you 9K, so you actually could get this over 100 and get that final shroud, but you're going to be pretty close to dead. So I don't know. Kind of we'll have to weigh that once you kind of start building this fleet and putting it together.
I mean,
But,
I know you said this fleet kind of reminded you of Berserkers and the Grimshaw Berserkers. It actually reminded me more of Hellhounds.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess the overload mechanism and having a lead overload mechanism ship is what reminded me of the Grimshine and the Berserker. But yeah, the thrower capability and it being a thrower-based ship definitely reminds me of the Hellhounds. And probably why I didn't mention the Hellhounds is that's a ship that I always hated. I never built it as a thrower. I think Negotiator mortars on it was what I did on the Hellhound, and it did good for like 3 weeks and then was toast.
Yeah, it didn't have a whole lot of longevity. I will admit that, but boy, I loved it because that was the last fleet that whenever it came out, I coined a whole fleet of them.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I had so much fun with that fleet. I went out, I flattened like Kung Po Panda and Rig Pig and a bunch of different people, and it was a lot of fun.
And that's what it's about sometimes, just getting the new latest and greatest for anybody who has a chance to get ahead of the curve on it.
Yeah, well, plus it was like, it was kind of like a thing. Well, see, any moron can spend $700 on a fleet and go out and flatten anybody.
That too.
It wasn't a big part of the game at that point in time.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued by both of these holes. I'm excited to get them. And talking about this 100,000, that thing does get its normal trigger every 30,000 and gives you that the same as the regular rage, the 60,000 penetrator deflection, combat speed buff, radioactive damage speed buff of 50%, and radioactive reload of another plus 25. So it gets it every 30, but then of course that at that 100,000 marker, you're going to get the very nice shroud. And if I'm understanding, I guess it's going to give off like what the Hellstar did, that kind of a boom, and it's going to be a 50,000 damage with a range of 75. So to me, that's going to take down walls and buildings, and if there is a guard ship close, probably cause pretty significant damage to that. Obviously, if it's weak to radioactive damage, because that is the damage type on what I'm going to call the boom. I'm assuming it's going to be like what the Hellstar does. It gives that boom every time it does that overload effect and causes that damage. Only it's a much bigger range, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to find the big thing with this fleet is there's a whole lot of text there to read and a whole lot of auras that you try to understand. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be build it right, and you'll click the back of the base and go get a cup of coffee and come back and they'll be dead.
Yep. Until Kickstarter throws us the fix to go, oh, here you go. This is how you stop that. The cycle of the game.
I'm trying to remember as well. You're talking about the Hellstar, but I forget. Is it the Retribution or the Fury that did the exact same thing?
The Retribution when it dies, and the Fury, when the Fury would do its stun overload, I don't know if it causes damage or not off the top of my head.
Not necessarily damage.
I know it's stun stuff.
Mechanic to where it went from stun to damage, and of course you've got the add-on that you can put on your structures that does the same concept as well with the stun,
right,
and the radioactive damage. So it's a mechanic they've already used, and they're just putting it on a ship. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and it was kind of like having the sonar stuff to be able to put on your turrets now. They've kind of been crossing things over, which I've kind of wanted. I thought, why can't we put sonar on our turrets? I understand not doing thermal because there's no blockage against thermal, but I thought whenever they introduced that sonar on your turrets, I was one of the most excited people, and even the people in my group were like, what's special about that? I said, finally, having to really worry about having this dedicated sub detector in your base or something is something you really don't have to worry about no more if you have a few of those, or a combination, of course. And to me, I just always felt taken when a ghost crawler would come in and prep me out. I mean, it just was like someone took my wallet or something. And I just hated that. So I was always one that would have that dedicated sub detector in there, and always tried to make sure I could figure out how to kill those ghost crawlers and anything else. But the ghost crawler was always a big thing for me. When I'd get on and watch replay and a ghost crawler would wipe my stupid guard out, I just was sick to my stomach. But this is a good hole, and I'm definitely excited. Can't wait till tomorrow to try to get the points going and get this dude. My shipyard is free and ready for the first one.
Yep. All right. I guess the last, as far as the new holes that we got to talk about, is how do you pronounce this? Is it Cadis?
I'm calling it Cadis. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I've been calling it.
Yeah.
I've heard it's pronounced Cadus.
Cadus.
Well, however you say it.
Well, I am one of the world's worst in BP that pronounces all the holes wrong, so I'm the wrong person on that end. I'm the guy that call it blue gun and brown ship.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. But I mean, this is the newest in the capital ship line, to go with the Hellstar, the Ghost Crawler, the Man-of-War, the Proto-Nem, and did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
Man-of-War. Man-of-War.
Yeah, I think I said Man-of-War. I thought.
I didn't. Okay, you may have.
It's neither here nor there. This is next in the capital ships. It has swarms of drones that it puts out. The first swarm of drones will spawn at the beginning of the battle. They will intercept penetrative and corrosive damage until they are destroyed. Then the Cadus will spawn these drones slowly until they all are gone, which costs some health from the Cadus. So each drone that gets killed takes a little health off the main hull. It will continue spawning these assault drones until it reaches 75% health. At this time, it will spawn a new swarm of drones that will intercept corrosive and explosive damage. This repeats at 50% and 25%, intercepting ballistic, radioactive, and explosive penetrative, respectively.
So instead of having a drone, say, bank, and you only have a certain amount of drones, it's all based off of health this time.
That is what it sounds like to me, yes.
Huh, I kind of like that. Because that way you've got drones all the way till it dies. I mean, and plus, somebody couldn't come into your base and drain them.
Well, and what's really interesting to me is the fact that at each percentage it switches over the type of defensive drones that it has. So whenever it's like beating the hell out of you, say, that got you to 75% real quick, well, hopefully that type of damage is in the second round of defensive drones that it is launching and will put a kind of curtail that damage. So I think it has it'll be very interesting to see how it all plans out.
Right, absolutely, and it's getting weird with the new hull, the new baser coming out, this Cadus coming out, and everything. I'm kind of interested because it seems like to me, and I know we've kind of echoed this through the whole show, is that they've seemed to have kind of retroed back to things and kind of gotten back to older stuff, but new per se. And I'm excited because I don't know that I'm super excited about getting this Cadus because, like I said, along with the Hellstar that I have had forever, that 400% repair modifier is kind of a kicker. But forever, the Hellstar to me overweighed that, particularly in my base. I mean, that thing was in my base for probably 8 months straight. So I'm excited about all this stuff. I'm excited about the rage and the Reyna's rage and everything else. So.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited just about, their concept of going back to keeping it simple. That's why.
Yes, me too.
Bring us back the game that we used to love, that we didn't have to spend like 30 minutes thinking about, okay, now I'm going to go hit a base. Now, do I need to take this ship with this ship, with this ship, and with this ship? Or is this not that kind of damage? It doesn't have that kind of deflection, so now I have to do this and this and that. Oh, but wait, what about the rival auras? And was this an aura Kappa 5 or is this a duplicate aura Kappa 1? Yeah, I'm glad to be getting away from all that.
Yes, you and me both.
Now, one of the first things I see with this particular hull, I try to look for where is it going to be useful. I always try to look at that, and I know it's it's the super hull, it's the capital ship. It's not necessarily supposed to be useful, but it's supposed to just look menacing. On that first run through, when it's at full health, when it's running at full health, this thing would eat up a titanium target like nothing. It would eat it up so badly. I mean, you're looking at 22 weapon slots. You can drop 22 banded hornets on this thing. Let its defense drones help protect you. You will eat up a titanium target like it's nothing. Theoretically, by what's on paper. I want that caveat. By what's on paper, this thing should decimate on titanium targets.
Right. I didn't even think about that. You know, I'm such a PvP guy and always thinking about how can I use this to protect myself or hit somebody. I need to think more. That's one of my downfalls is I don't think enough about the work or the weekly and the raids and stuff like that. And I've been trying to change that trend a little bit because I do suffer sometimes. But I was looking at this thing going, okay, how's this going to protect my base?
I'd be kind of interested to see it as part of the base card because 22 UAVs you can put on this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of UAVs, dude. That's a lot of UAVs.
That's almost a fleet worth, really, if you kind of look at it. Plus the modifiers it gives you. I mean, it doesn't it give you a doesn't it UAV damage plus 200? So, I mean, it's on top of the regular UAV damage. Plus, there's a few specials out there that give additional UAV damage, and you can put so many on there. I think the damage output is going to be crazy.
But I'm trying to remember what was the damage bonus on the Skyfire inherent on the hull. So, you know, when you kind of look at it that way as well, I'm trying to look it up right quick.
That is one that I did not get. I went the Phoenix route and just said I'm not going to worry about the Skyfire. So I didn't. Probably should have, but I didn't.
Yeah, I got both hulls simply because they burned me in the garrison one because, you know, you didn't know for sure. You skipped the icebreaker and it ended up being needed. So I made sure I got both blueprints simply for that reason.
Right. And I should have. I just, like I said, probably one of my major things is that I don't pay so much attention to the work of the game and what I need to do to be ready for that stuff. So, but definitely good to do that. And, you know, like I said, I've been trying to change my personal trend with that. And I think it's paying off. So it's all about learning and evolving in this game.
I didn't get the screenshot that had the repair time on it, but if I'm not mistaken, you don't want to lose this thing because base repair time, like all the capital ships, I think this one's like a day and
it was over a day. I looked at it earlier. It's always, I think it was a day and 4 hours in base trim.
No, 1 day and 16 hours.
1 day and 16.
You can almost build a blank Conqueror hull. Actually, you could build a whole fleet of blank Vendetta hulls while just trying to repair this thing from dead.
Well, there you go. Gives you that right there gives you something to do while you're waiting for this thing to repair.
There you go. Build some Vendettas.
So I don't know. I think this thing, if nothing else, it'll be fun. You know, we'll have to see exactly how effective it is for all the different targets. But I think it would be just fun to take out in combat every now and then. You know.
Well, and I'm assuming it's going to have a huge presence on the map as well, like the Hellstar, the Proto, and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, I mean, just to watch 22 UAVs all go flying out for fun at the same time.
It's going to look like an overload swarm without the overload.
Right. Then we got the blueprints for the new weapon and the new special. Brian, here, you want to read them off?
Oh, man. Of course, we was talking about the Rage and all of that. This is the weapon and the special that they've quote-unquote designed to go with the Rage hull. This weapon is just nasty. This slinger, wow. For the first time, we have a thrower weapon. So that means that the polonium accelerator, the one that gives the added 15%, 12%. Oh, I forgot the number.
12. It's 12%.
The added 12% thrower range will work on this item. But if you look, instead of having a salvo, it has shot, as well as, for the first time, a thrower weapon with a shockwave. These are very, very extremely important facts. The damage is already unbelievably high. I mean, you're looking at 5,000 per individual shot base damage out of this item. Once you start adding in tons of bonuses. Wow. And that shockwave. The shockwave is also a majorly important fact.
So how's this? I mean, do y'all have any idea how the shockwave is going to work? I mean, is it going to be similar to a launcher shockwave in that you get a build up and then boom? Or I've been trying to understand that all day.
I would imagine it's going to be the exact same mechanic that they already have in place for the launchers.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured. I figured, obviously the more you have, the more it's going to load up and the faster you're going to get the boom.
Right. So, for example, like each launcher, since it's a multi-shot of 3, would add, 3 stacks because it's multi-shot. And if you put in the special on over there, for example, that gives it +2, that means at that point it would add 5 stacks towards the boom. Now, since they're so secretive with their behind-the-scene numbers, we don't know exactly how many stacks you need for this boom to go off.
Right. Well, and yeah, that's probably going to go back to what I was saying earlier, in that the game is kind of giving us this fleet that needs to be together, because obviously the more throwers you have, the more ships you have in the fleet, the faster you're going to get that boom. So this is going to be one of those fleets that I think is going to be really geared towards all of one instead of a mixed bag, which is going to throw me off because I've been doing the mixed bag for so long. But I'm excited about this because I have been an anti-thrower guy since the throwers came out. Yes, they were okay on the Hellhound. I didn't like them even then. And I'm looking at these stats going, okay, I think I like this. So it's like even this last thrower we got, I put it in my base thinking, oh, it's got all this damage, and it just doesn't seem to be very effective to me.
Yeah, so, I'm hoping that the rage combined with these new weapons and the new special will be everything that we hoped the incinerator was going to be, but failed.
Right. Right. And I think it will. I mean, obviously it's numbers and it's all on paper, and a lot of things that KIXEYE does will look good on paper and not perform well in the real world, and vice versa. I mean, you'll get stuff that you're thinking, what's this going to do? And then it's kick ass. So, until we get it out there and start looking at people's builds and what people are doing with them, obviously get hit with it, go hit with it, then we'll start to be able to determine exactly how effective this thrower is going to be. But on paper, it looks nasty.
Well, let's remember one other thing about this. It's cut off a little bit in the image here, but this weapon is designed to fit on not only a Conqueror hull, but also on Defender hulls.
Yes.
I'm not going to mention the Harlock's Alpha Behemoth.
Yeah, or even, you get the radioactive bonus on the Vanquisher.
I forgot about that, and I have 5 of those built already.
Yes. And I think the Valiant will give it the bonus too, if I'm thinking right.
I personally think it'll be really good on incinerators, because I run an incinerator in my guard because they hold up so well against Inquisitors and Mudbutts. And oh my gosh, this weapon on my incinerators will be mean when those boats that try to just run by you, they're just going to be like post-toasty cereal, man. They're just going to be like snap, crackle, pop.
Yep. So, this show has done one thing for me. It's got my wheels turning on all these ships now and what I can use that thrower on. So, which is a good thing, I guess.
If you remember when we were talking about prizes, do you remember there was one particular prize that almost seemed out of place, but I said, remember this prize, the interception system.
Yeah.
Here's why you want to remember the interception system. It gives a build-up bonus for your shockwave.
Uh-huh.
Now, what were we just talking about? A thrower with a shockwave?
Uh-huh. Yep. And my favorite weapon in the game has always been the launchers. I've always liked the mortar fleets just because of the devastation on the screen, but my favorite weapon has always been the launcher. And so I've been really the D98 was the last, what I consider the best launcher that's available right now. And in fact, I have used it as recently as a few months ago. I mean, I don't think I have it on anything really now, but so I've been waiting on something that has that boom and all those types of things. And this is not exactly a launcher, but it's the way it's going to function. Yes, it's going to be flame, but I think the function is going to be extremely similar.
Well, where I see the biggest difference, and as you kind of look at the video, where your launcher is more like your missile and it will go over walls, this has to actually drill through the wall.
Yes, it does.
That's going to be your difference between it.
Yes.
Of course, you know, we do have the special that they have that they've marketed with it. The radon breeder goes back to the multi-shot thing. This is a multi-shot weapon. This is designed to give you an extra 2 multi-shots on there.
Yeah.
And if you remember the basics of a multi-shot, remember I commented you're looking at about 5,000 points of damage per individual shot in that multi-shot.
Yes.
This adds 2 more completely new shots to it. So you're technically going to be doing, yeah, you're technically going to get an extra 10,000 damage base for each salvo that you fire out of that. So, you know, the +2 comes in handy. It's also going to give us a little bit of a reload. You know, the reload time's pretty hefty on this particular thrower, a 9-second.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff, you can drop it down pretty fiercely, as well as the Rage having the bonuses on it.
Yeah, lots of bonuses, and I think there's some items, there's some specials out there that give you radioactive reload, and obviously getting these ships to scold. I mean, I looked at that like you and went, that is kind of a long reload compared to some of the other technology like that. But at the same time, with all the Rage bonuses and then the special bonuses and the rank bonus, I don't think you'll see a big delay in its fire.
It'll get dropped down a whole lot once you put in the rank, the right specials, and all of that. You know, the special that's with it does give an extra 25%. I've got an opinion on that. Now, it does give the special ability of an extra 10% on shockwave damage.
Yeah, because 45,000 shock for the shockwave isn't quite enough. We got to make it 49,500.
Well, that's where my discussion, you know, that's where my kind of debate comes in on it. Is this an interesting special? Yes, but once you start laying it out and finding out what specials you cannot use while using this special, I'm not in a position to recommend this special. I would rather use an emission generator than this special, even with this weapon.
I kind of agree, and I think a lot of people get tied up into, oh, this is the new special and this is a new weapon. They got to go together. Well, I've never thought that way. I'm like you. I've looked at all the dynamics, what can be used in conjunction with each other, what can't, and always try to, you know, to do that. And a lot of times I don't pair the new special with the current weapon. And I mean, sometimes you do, but there's a lot of times that I have found, you know, a little bit older technology that, those are a little better to me. So I think that's right. You know, getting this thing and getting it in your shipyard and, you know, starting to really put it together and that type of thing. Of course, you know, talking with all the guys and gals and kind of getting everybody's ideas.
It's only been in the shipyard for what, probably like
5 hours,
5 hours, 6 hours at this point.
Yeah. And I think I have fakely built like 5 of them.
Right.
Well, to just kind of defend my point with that, when you use that interceptor system that they're offering this raid, if you don't already have it, and if you happen to have the emission generator that we got when the Cyclone was released, when you combine the 2 of those, remember the emission generator says launcher is in ×3, but the supercharger is at ×3.5.
Yes.
This is not a launcher weapon. It gets the 3.5. When you combine the 2, it has a 6.5 multiplier for your shockwave buildup. Oh, what was the shockwave number on this one? 45,000?
Right.
Imagine building up that shockwave. Now I'm going to get really nasty. What does the Visago Pride give to the prides in the fleet? A petty 1,000 radioactive deflection?
Right. You know, another thing
with this in your defense fleet.
Another thing I just noticed, and thinking of subs and stuff, this new thrower does 75 submerge damage. I just caught that. I was sitting over here looking at the screen going, oh my gosh, hell yeah.
And so, what was the corrosive deflection on the raid? I mean, on the Rage? Up there
4,000? I think is what it was, 4,000?
But I believe it got a little bit extra because of the individual ship. It had the base and then the ship stuff. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but
it has base of 15,000 corrosive deflection. Then in an overload, it gets, I thought it got a little more. Yes, gets another 4,000. So you get your corrosive deflection up to 19,000.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Well, we could sit here and braincraft over all these blueprints for like the next 3 hours, probably. It is going to be a little after 9, and we still have 1 or 2 more things we got to cover. So let's go ahead and move forward. Actually, I think we only got one real slide that we want to talk about at the very end. Since we did call this episode Raids and Rivals, I did want to talk at least a little bit about one of the rival fleets that we kind of took a poll between us guys here at the show, and this is the fleet we currently think is the best out of just using the rivals abilities put together is the Inquisitor fleet with the Survivor in it. I've seen extremely good things about it. You know, I've seen 2 different versions. One, people running 4 Inquisitors with 1 Survivor, and another one, people running 3 Inquisitors with 2 Survivors. But it just goes out and it destroys.
And the splash is absolutely silly.
Yeah, I mean, there's several different variations of these builds out there. I know you can go anywhere from, like, I was looking at one earlier today that I'm currently working on building that was like 244% splash, I think it was.
Yes, it is. And actually, if I'm thinking correctly, this slide you got up there, that Inquisitor build is pretty close to the one I had. I actually have changed it to
the build that you sent me. So
I've actually changed it to more of what we talked about, whereas I added the combustion system.
Okay.
Combustion system 2 in the place of the agility 3. And I think I left the rest of it the same, but I did take the combustion system off. Also, I noticed one thing with this whole that irritated me is the hyenas tear it up. Now, obviously, if you drive smart, you can kind of get around that. So I have 2 Inquisitors in, the mixed bag fleet that I'm running. I'm running a Vizago Pride, a regular Pride, 2 Inquisitors, and the Survivor. And I think that I added a Phalanx. I was trying to get in there a Phalanx because of weight issues. I wanted to add a bigger one, but I put a Phalanx 3 on each one of my Inquisitors, and that did help a little bit to get rid of some of that hyena. And I think the reason I kind of was sitting there looking at this hole and looking at how well the Pride seems to do against the hyena. I mean, when the hyena hits the Pride, it does a lot of damage, but it doesn't seem to hit it like it was hitting the Inquisitor. And I was just racking my brain going, why? Well, my particular Pride build has a evade of 75%, whereas the Inquisitor is minus 121. Of course, everything's going to hit it. So yeah. I think that's another problem with that Inquisitor is it has so much negative evade, and so many people have gone to hyenas. I'm just trying to figure out exactly that rate, because I think some of the bases that are kind of, to me, that are kind of getting in front of the curve on this deal are loading up on hyenas.
I know one of the big differences of opinions you and I had when we were talking about the Inquisitor build was I actually really like resonance capacitor on it, whereas you really prefer siege battery on it.
Yes, and my thinking there, I like resonance capacitor. I have it on a lot of holes, and I use the heck out of it. And the reason why I went with the siege on this is that, to me, when I built these things, the one thing that I had a grief against on the gluttonies and the muddle missile combination was they just didn't seem to take buildings down effectively fast enough for me, my liking. So I thought, well, I'm going to increase that building damage, and you get 74% building, 73% bonus on the siege battery, and of course your 49% turret defense when it's ranked up, or 50%. That was my thinking. Now, I think the folks that have gone Renaissance capacitor, I don't think you've gone wrong. It was just my thinking in my head going with the siege battery. And, of course, like I was talking about the rage build, talking to other people that have already spent some money and kind of put it out there. And okay, what did you do? How does that work? And
right. Now, see, what I like about the resonance capacitor is not only does that 35 or 36% damage buff against all stuff, so it'll be against turrets as well as the ship. But then you get the stacking bonus for any other ones you have around that had the same thing. Plus you get the speed bonus, which allows you to use actually a lower level engine, which frees you up a lot of weight, but you're still going just as fast. And that was I really like the multifaceted abilities that the resonance capacitor brought me.
Yes, and I agree. I agree. Like I said, I don't really have the siege battery. I mean, both of my prides have the Renaissance capacitor on them. Many other holes, obviously, that I've done, I have the Renaissance capacitor. As long as they have the trigger, you know, a lot of people make the mistake of putting that on something that it won't trigger. So you always got to make sure that when you're looking at your holes, make sure it has the Renaissance capacitor and it says Renaissance trigger. Or I don't know if it says Renaissance. It just says something trigger. Yes or no.
It says yes, resonance trigger, and then it says yes or no.
Yes or no. So make sure that the hole you're applying that thing to, which the Inquisitor does have that trigger marked yes. I know I've had people come to me and say, man, this thing ain't working right. So let's take a look. What's your build? What do you put it on? Well, that's not a trigger. Oh, so
make sure if it says resonance trigger, yes, it's a friendly aura and not a hostile.
Yes, that too. Definitely got to pay attention to that stuff. It's like so many people, you know, especially in my groups, they get into a big old hurry and wanting to get this stuff out of the water, kind of like you talked about with the Hellhounds. They're, you know, I'm not saying that was your first fleet to coin, but I've got these guys that are coming up. They're finally getting them going. They're like, okay, I'm going to throw some coin in this game. I'm coining this fleet. And a buddy, one of the guys in the group coined, it was back when the Revenges were out, and that is not a Renaissance capacitor trigger ship. He had that. I mean, he had everything on there wrong. I went, dude, no wonder it doesn't work right. So we tweaked it a little bit and changed things, but he's never made that mistake again. He slows down, reads all them stats. It's very important. You know, obviously we talked about the game is going to slow that down on this statting, you know, have less stats to look at. Not necessarily have to be a freaking rocket science to try to put some of this stuff together or understand how it works even. I also think Kixeye has done a great job with trying to explain some of this on the forums, whereas they didn't really do that before. So if you go to them forums and you read that stuff, sometimes they'll have an article on there that will explain these things, explain the capacitor, explain these aurora fields, explain different things or different dynamics in the game. So, you know, definitely got to do that. I think we're going to hit a lot of those points on this show. So just make sure you read everything, read every line.
Yep, that's totally true. All right, guys. Well, we're at about a quarter after the hour, so we've gone a little bit over, but I think we covered a fair amount of stuff in here. Probably we might even covered more than one time here. But hey, you know, it's what happens, what we do here. So
just 1 second. As one quick tip, you know, talking about with the resonant trigger, probably the most generic general tip that you can come up with determining whether up on here or not. If it's a hull saying resonant capacitor, resonant trigger yes, that's going to help you yourself. If it's on a weapon, you should assume that it is going to affect what you're hitting and not your own hull.
Right.
Just the easiest tip I've found in general.
You can't always use that on the auras because some of the auras, you do have auras that are actually hostile because they affect your opponents when they enter those auras.
Right.
So, yeah, you just got to keep an eye on that stuff.
Well, just like I said, you just got to read every line. And, you know, and the biggest thing that I tell the guys and gals in my groups, ask questions. You know, if you don't know, I'm sure there's somebody that knows. Watch these shows. I mean, just get out there and collect all that information you can. And, you know, I think what we're doing here, and I think what a lot of what the game's doing with giving you that information, they're trying to get it to where refitting is not something you're going to have to do a lot of, which I'm very guilty of in the past. Got to get this hole done now, coin it. Oh, wait a minute, it's all wrong. So I just see you got to slow down, take your time. And I think if you really look at everything and talk to people, you can put this stuff together and you don't have to really refit a bunch or spend a lot of money on it, and you can have some nice stuff.
Cool. All right. Well, I actually am wrapping it up this time, guys. We're not going to say, okay, well, it's time to go and, you know.
Sorry, my fault.
Oh, that's fine. I want to thank Kixeye for, you know, saying that going forward they're going to make things less complicated. You know, I think that's a very important thing, and it shows that they're willing to take that extra effort to make things how the players want it to be. You know, I think that because just recently when we really start complaining about things getting too complicated, and they pretty quickly have come back with a response of, yes, we're settling it down and we're going back to basics. So that's a very positive thing that they've done.
Absolutely.
But I want to thank you guys all for coming out and watching the show. Thank everybody in chat. We appreciate you. And don't forget to smash that like button. and subscribe to the channel. And if you aren't already a member of the BP Crow's Nest Facebook page, make sure you go over there and sign up. And thanks a lot, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for having me, and see you next time.